Hi everybody, Matt Lawton here, and this is the Astrological Winds channel. Going to take a look at the astrological weather report for the week of July 10th through the 16th. And a really interesting week, as I say a lot. That's my favorite adjective, I think. Interesting, huh? Anyway, two of the inner planets are changing signs today, and that is Mars and Mercury. And they both get involved with the Pluto and the nodal axis on both sides of that change. So a lot of shifting there. And then I think the rest of the week is going to be adjusting to those shifts. So first off, the Astrological Winds channel is a free video blog that I do on YouTube every week. And if you have a YouTube account, you can become a follower if you'd like. And then when you do, you want to turn on your notifications and it'll let you know whenever I post a new blog. So also it's available on all kinds of podcasts, and the podcast numbers just keep going up. Really appreciate that. It's put out by Buzzsprout. About 20 different podcasts pick it up. Just look up Astrological Winds channel and you can find it there. And like I said, it's a free service. So what I'd really appreciate is a little bit of payback, pay it forward kind of thing. Remember that concept, right? All helping each other out at what we do best is to please pass the link on to somebody else you know who might be interested in astrology. Remember, that's more than half the world now, so you don't have to be, too self-conscious about doing something like that these days. Really sweet the world's gotten to that point. Also, the best way you can support me also is that I am a professional astrologer. I've been doing readings for over 20 years, had 7 years of schooling doing that, and before doing that, and I would love to do you or someone you know that's interested in having their chart done by a professional astrologer. So if that or any other kind of reading you'd like to have done, if that is something you're ready for, you know someone who's ready for that, please email me at matthuey823@gmail.com and we can discuss setting that up. And one more time, that's matthuey823@gmail.com. At the end of the blog, I'll give a lot more detailed contact info for those who are interested in that, but want to get into it. And remember, I like to remind everyone every week, if you're not super familiar with astrological terms, but you are interested in knowing the energies so that you have that power, that knowledge, don't get stuck when I say the astrological terms. There are a lot of people who listen to the blog who do understand that, but if you don't want to get caught up on that. You want to hear the interpretation of that energy so that you can be floating along or skating along or surfing along best this week with the energy that's working this week. So that's the important part, to hear the interpretation. So like I said, there's a lot of interesting stuff just front loaded today on Monday when two of the three inner planets change signs. Mars will go into Virgo and Mercury will go into Leo later in the day. Now, if you remember, if you saw last week's blog, I talked about how on the weekend Mars was going to get into this very interesting configuration with Neptune and Pluto, and that is called a yod. And so it was a quincunx to both Neptune and Pluto, which are in a very long-term sextile with one another, and it's a very fateful type of aspect. And so Mars is just literally just fresh through this final quincunx with Pluto before moving on into Virgo. And in a little bit of a review, in my opinion, of the way I saw that yod work the last few days, is it seems like we were not forced, but our actions were in reaction to the things that were going on around us, and that we just kind of had to do it. We just had to go and react to what was going on around us. And and just do it. And yet was this sense that even though we weren't really self-determined in what that was because we were reacting, it still seemed to be coinciding with what we're supposed to be doing or have to be doing right now. Might be a really good generalized way to say it, but also, once again, seeing how the world is so close to, these explosive places with war and violence, especially in relation in the Western world to what's going on between Ukraine and Russia. There's just been a lot of really intense energy wrapped around that situation the last few weeks, and it seems like it's something that we're at this point, it's like the cart going downhill. No one's going to stop it. It's going to land and smash somewhere, and we're all just kind of everyone's just reacting to that. But also exposure of once again those that are in this power and authority, the Mars and Pluto, the military, those in power, and how they can really, push world events and have the whole world just having to, react and adapt to that in some form or manner. So very interesting. And then, so that's what we just went through with the Mars quincunxing the Pluto and in the Yod with the Neptune and Pluto, and and how that fit in with your life and how you felt you had to react to things in the past week or so. But now Mars is going to go into Virgo until August 28th. So we've got about that's about 7 weeks, 6-7 weeks of Mars in Virgo, and that's actually moving pretty fast for Mars. When it gets through a sign in less than 2 months, at that point it's moving pretty fast. And this is where we, from the Mars in Leo, that very boisterous, egotistical, confident, strong, arrogant, pushy Mars, we're going to go into this Virgo energy with Mars, where our actions are going to be a lot more refined. They're going to be a lot more well thought out. They're going to be a lot more into the techniques and skills that we already know that we are good at and that we are continuing to perfect and use very successfully in practical ways. So this is the energy of being of detailing, of work that's detailing, very focused, very attention, them using the mind and the hands or body and the tools that we have all together in our actions to push forward. So it's great for working. It's great for getting our systems at work perfected. It's great for doing all the little things that we need to do to make a plan successful. And so one of the danger of it actually is that we feel so confident in believing in the techniques that we have, that when we see other people doing similar things differently, we can kind of get into a critical or judgmental way of reacting to that. So basically we need to remember that there's more than one way to approach doing things, and our way may be perfect for us, but that's why it looks so good from our side, because we have done that, and and other people may not have done that focus, or maybe they focused on something else that is just as worthwhile, quite possibly. So try not to get caught into that, like I said, kind of a judgmental mind frame about this. But we see a lot of practical results and success when with the work we do in Mars and Virgo. And like I said, it slows us down. We're more thorough. We're very careful, almost like a conservative approach really to the way we're doing things, but it's perfected and it's smart. And then we go right into this trine to the north. Now, remember, that was 29th degree or 30th degree quincunx to Pluto, so critical changes there. And then we go right into a trine to the North Node, which is also at the critical 1st degree of Taurus and just about ready to go into Aries, which I talked about in the monthly in detail. Now, so that shows that, the sextile to the North Node does show that when that, we see other people that are, have that same interest as us and that same skill and that same ability of craftsmanship that Mars and Virgo can bring, that we do have a desire to like connect with them and maybe go into a team effort, because we can see like where everybody, if we're in a group, it's kind of like a group thing, groups form over, similar interests. So all the members of that group all start to become basically experts, even if they're at different levels in whatever that group is associated around. So that's kind of what this Mars and Virgo is seeing when it's connecting to this North Node. It's like, oh, look, here's a group of people that, have been doing this too and have perfected certain techniques too. And I feel like I can fit in to this group and have a lot of shared success with them and, be able to like maybe even expand my ideas and my stuff and my goals and my destiny based on those connections I make with that group. So very, very interesting energy for Mars. And like I said, going into we'll be in Virgo until August 28th, so we will have that power, the power of perfecting the techniques and being able to pay attention to all these details and just try to remain a little bit tolerant of people who have other ways of doing things. Now, at the same time, same day today, Mercury doing all kinds of stuff with critical degrees with Pluto and the North Node, and also changing signs. And first off, Mercury has an opposition to Pluto today in the 30th degree. So Mercury in Cancer, 30th degree opposite Pluto, retrograde back into Capricorn in that 30th degree also. And this is, really has us take a very deep look into ourselves based on our close relationships, our partnerships, and how people react to us. Our mind can see things very deeply through the way others react to us and the relationships that we have. Now, this is not really a very comfortable aspect, because really what mostly happens in this aspect is that we are very focused on something that we feel very strongly about. We have a lot of emotional conviction behind some kind of thought or idea, and it's obsessive, it's narrow, and it's not willing to take in other input at this point. It sees things very deeply, and what it wants to do actually, especially in an opposition, is convince others around us of that same viewpoint, idea, opinion, or way of looking at things. So this can be very coercive, actually. This can be very manipulative energy. This is the energy of like those in power, Pluto, using communications, the press or media, to like push their own message and not show everything. There's secretive stuff here. This is like acting or thinking out and taking plans behind the scenes that's secretive, that can be underhanded, that's manipulative, that's goal is to coerce you into believing, or you coercing other people into believing your point of view. It's all about propaganda, So it can be uncomfortable, actually. Like, there's not a lot of stuff being set out in the open to those who oppose the way we look at things, and vice versa. It's more like, oh, I'm going to play some little mind games with you. I'm gonna play some little tricks with you. I'm gonna do some secretive stuff. So this can get us into a lot of conflict. It can be like that smoldering, long-term kind of energy, that where we're trying to convince someone else of our point of view. And, at the 30th degree in Capricorn Cancer, there's something to be learned here to let that stuff go. And to instead, the better use of this would be to get kind of counseling on the way you are moving and focusing and the way you do things, and to really use this energy to do research into your own mind and how it's functioning, research into just human depth study and things like that can help you understand compulsive energy that's driving you to try to push your way with others. So this is a really critical time, because at that 30th degree, it's hey, if you're going to try to continue to do this old school power tripping thing, then you're going to end up being caught up in that for quite some time with other people that are similar ways. But if you can use this energy to turn inward and learn what's really pushing you to think like you do and try to communicate and push like you do, that would be a much better use of this energy and would help you graduate basically to a new level of consciousness, especially at that 30th degree. So right after that, Mercury goes into Leo. And this is interesting because this does go back into the power part of the Mercury opposition to Pluto, of the part about being very confident and self-assured about what we believe in. Now, Mercury will be in Leo till July 29th. It's moving pretty fast right now, just over a couple weeks in a sign. It's almost moving 2 degrees a day, that means. So that's fast for Mercury. And we're very strong and self-assured about our thoughts and opinions and beliefs when Mercury is in Leo, and we are stubborn about them. We will fight about them. We believe in them, so there's a lot of pride mixed up in our thoughts and opinions. And the thing is, that can start to come off as an arrogant, self-righteous type of tone, and one that's shutting down input from others, and it can actually create a negative impression of someone who's trying to be too dominant in communications and in pushing the way they want to do things. Now, that being said, if this energy can be reeled in, you have a very strong ability to be creative mentally in knowing what each person and what each thing and where each thing should go within organizations. So it's like a leadership ability in planning and organizing things that it gives us, but we can't allow our pride to get too involved. And the problem is Mercury's going to go right into a square with that nodal axis at the 1st degree of Taurus, and that shows that we, especially with the Mercury in Leo, we are having a tendency to look out for ourselves first in relationships. What am I going to get out of this? What is the benefit that this person is providing me? What is the benefit that this group is providing me? So once again, that energy can be discordant within groups. It can disturb relationships with others. It can give you a negative impression out there of others, that you're someone who's chewing it for yourself, or there you may see other people within the group acting out like this. And once again, it's at a very critical degree. So are we going to be ending up being outcasts from certain groups because we just are trying to push too much of our own way and have too much of our own pride and ego involved? Or are we going to be able to slip into the place where we can be more creative and get something that is benefiting us, but it's not hurting the group at the same time? Kind of more like the Mars trine to the North Node in Virgo, and Mars and Virgo trine to the North Node, that is, so where it's like looking for others that, yes, maybe we have these higher standards in Leo and Virgo, but we can find others still that have similar levels of that, and we can connect with them and still create some kind of group dynamic. So very interesting. And then, basically right away, the very next day, the 12th, is when, or Wednesday, is when the North Node goes into Aries and the South Node goes into Libra for the next year and a half. And I talked in detail about that on the monthly report 2 blogs ago, so I'm not going to go back into as much detail, but I do want to let you guys know it's super important to know the details about that. This is North Node. We are going to push to connect with others, and we're going to want to push to lead others, but it can create a lot of waves of insensitivity. And, once again, this is something that's going for 18 months and it's affecting the whole world. And the nodes are like a common destiny karma kind of point. And South Node going to Libra, North Node going to Aries. The last time this happened was when the U.S. got into the Iraqi war about 18, 19 years ago. And we all kind of know how that went. Well, right now, we have another very similar situation conflagrating more and more between Ukraine and Russia, where U.S. is, pushing more and more of this military solution to something. And that is very fitting with the North Node going into Aries and the South Node into Libra for the next year and a half, being very aggressive and being insensitive about how a lot of those actions can be towards others, even people that are literally in our own family. And in this case, in the family in a bigger sense is, our own nation, So this is the energy where we're going to really be pushing ahead, but we have to be really self-conscious about how we're doing that. And we have to be protective about doing that, being more like the peaceful warrior who's fighting for your own destiny first, who's fighting for what you believe in first, and protecting energy rather than this aggressive pushing energy. So like I said, a lot more on that in the monthly. Go back to that. So then also on Wednesday, the sun squares Chiron. What I think is happening this week, guys, I always say all this energy never acts in a vacuum. Astrology is not linear. Life is not linear. This is holistic. All these things tie together. So here we have all these shifts with the Mars and Mercury changing signs and hitting Pluto at a critical degree, hitting the nodes at a critical degree. And these last 3 aspects that I want to mention, mainly this week, are all ones that show our balance can be thrown off. On Wednesday, sun square Chiron shows that there's new parts of us that we're becoming aware of. There's these shifts in energy are showing new things in us that we're becoming more and more aware of, and we're integrating. We're trying to bring them into our personality, into ourself, into our life, into our journey. And it's very imbalancing right now. It's very challenging. It's even painful. It's poking at things where we have wounds and have been hurt. And we're trying to find that correct balance. Find a place where we can land on our feet like a cat, and still be balanced. And this is not going to be easy to do this week because of all these shifts. We can even be feeling it in our body physically this week. The intensity, of a lot of the things in our environment, maybe even the climate things that we're going through, whatever it may be. There's a lot of intense stuff that's shifting our bodies and our personalities and the way we do things this week, and it can feel like it's off. And then we have Mercury quincunxing Saturn and the Sun sesquiquadrating Saturn, both of them on Friday. And this shows that, yeah, like this is triggering like a lot of hidden fears are coming up, things that we may have not been dealing with. And now all of a sudden they're coming to the surface, and it could be shutting us down. It could be having the effect of making us feel like, oh, you know, like I need to retreat within, that I need to like, you know, go back to my patterns. But that's what's rigid. That's what's got us stuck, actually. You know, so it's trying to show us that we need to make some adjustments, that we need to let go. But this is like Mercury, Saturn can give us a very suspicious mind, you know, like our own thoughts are in such a shadowy place that we can start to project that as suspicions of others and other things. So we have to really understand that. And it is good still for that energy that's similar to Mars and Virgo, though, where we can really get into details and pay attention and focus on things really deeply. But we have to be, once again, really careful about falling into a narrow-mindedness, shutting down input based on like fears being triggered, and those fears making us literally like paranoid, like suspicious, and then, you know, and then that plays out, and that's how the world will react to us, and then we'll be really feeling very frustrated and stuck. But fortunately, the same day, the sun is also going to sextile Uranus, and what this means to me, and this is kind of like life rallying us, it can show us some negative stuff, places where we're coming from, and then it'll show us that spark. There's always a balance. It's always like a balance in life going on. And the sun sextile Uranus shows that on that same day, right around that same time, we're going to get exposed to some new ideas. Something, someone, some information, some knowledge, maybe some new technology. Something's going to shake us up and give us something that stimulates, that excites us, that shows us a way to break out of those rigid patterns that we're stuck in our thoughts, in our behavior, in our habits, that, you know, that Saturn stuff can be broken up, and that we can take some kind of opportunity. Now, it is a sextile, so we have to do that. You know, we could maybe just use it as seeing something, and maybe not much will go on, but we can also use it as seeing something and reacting to that, doing something independently, moving forward and changing something purposely, reforming something around us. Even doing something like that can set the energy. Like if you're feeling stuck, you know, change something in your environment that you know for a while has been needing some kind of change. This can just shift the whole energy. Or it can just be in our thoughts, in our attitude, finding something exciting. But that opportunity is going to come up that day to break up. You know, we're going to see this stuff, but it wants us to break it up, you know. Life never is going to leave us stranded in one place. It's going to be like, hey, you know, see this? Now, look, here's some other way. Here's another path. So many paths, infinite paths. And then last thing I want to mention is on Saturday, we have Venus quincunxing Neptune. So this is the same thing, really. Again, it's another thing about adjusting. And this one is a little bit like living too much in an idealistic fantasy world, living too much in a romantic kind of way at looking things. So especially in relationships, we may be really living in a fantasy world and not be being real. And the danger of this is we become very passive. We become pushovers, trying to get love, basically, trying to get acceptance. We, you know, just allow other people to push us around, and we'll do whatever they want for us. And we think somehow that by doing this, we're going to get their love. And many times it's actually almost a turnoff, because it's like, oh, why is this person so weak? You know, maybe it's not even a conscious thing. It could be subconscious, and someone's picking that up. Like, this person's so desperate for love that they would take it from anybody. You know, they would, you know, so we have to have a tendency to drag ourselves down to accept people and relationships in our life that may not be good for us, or that are lower vibe energy than where we're really at, you know? And so, just this belief that we have to give too much because it makes us emotionally needy, the Neptune and Venus together in a quincunx. And we're looking for some kind of support. So it's like it opens us up too much, and we become unclear with our boundaries, and we live kind of like in a fantasy world. And so it can be really disheartening once we realize that. So we need to kind of separate our fantasy from reality, because we can have some very beautiful moments with Venus quincunx Neptune. It can spark the imagination. It can inspire us. It's a great weekend to expose yourself to art, and or just do some yourself. Get creative about something. So, just a very interesting energy, though. Like, all three of these energies coming at the end of the week after those two shifts show that the balance is kind of thrown off, and that we got to make some adjustments to, the things we're doing, especially in relationship to our power, to what we believe in, to how we relate to others and groups, and how that coincides with that power and everything. Everyone's got to be careful about all this Aries kind of energy. Can make us very insensitive to other people with the actions that we're taking. And the Pluto can really put us on a power trippy kind of thing, and the nodal energy can make us look at groups as something that we're using more for our own benefit rather than in a cooperative way. So we're gonna be like I said, kind of like that cat dropped out a window, and are we gonna land on all fours and find the balance that we need to balance? It shows we're gonna have to make some adjustments. There's gonna be some challenges, but it also shows that life is gonna show us some things that will give us opportunities to introduce something new to break up those rigid patterns. All right, this is Matt Lawton. This is the Astrological Winds channel. That's what I got for this week. The Astrological Winds channel is a free service that I offer every week. I've been doing it for years. It's been several years on YouTube as video now, podcasts and written blogs before that. And it's been growing and growing. It grows organically. It's a free service, and the way it grows organically is with you helping me out by passing this link on as soon as you're done now to someone else. And remember, it is available also on podcasts. So many different podcasts are picking it up now. Hundreds of followers now on podcasts, really growing out there. Really appreciate it. And podcasts free you to go about and do other things. You don't have to look at a video screen, although you don't really have to do that with YouTube either. Also, it's available on, if you have an Instagram account, I have Astrological Winds channel set up there too, so the link is posted there every week. And I also sometimes post extra stuff, just as comments, not video or audio, during the week there. So it's kind of some fun stuff that I'll put up there that you might be missing, and it only takes like a half a minute maybe to check it out. And also, I post the link on my private Facebook account. If you want to become a friend, you need to friend request me. It's Matthew with 2 T's and then Lawton, Lauten. If you'd like to give a donation to the blog, any amount is not too small. My Venmo handle is at, the symbol at, the A with the circle, and then once again, Matthew with a capital T, M and 2 T's, and then a hyphen in the middle, and then Lawton, capital Lauten. Best way you guys all can support me. I am a professional astrologer. I've been one for over 20 years, trained for 7 years. I've done many, many readings over those years, and I would love to do a reading for you or someone you know. If you've never had your chart done professionally, if the only way you've ever had your chart done is by a computer or a friend who opened a book or you opened a book, it's nothing like the holistic experience you'll get and from a professional astrologer. And this is something you carry around with you your whole life. You buy clothes and you throw them out, so this is something you don't throw out, and it's really valuable information, self-empowerment, for you to know your chart, the energy that you're with, that's always with you no matter where you go. And also, predictive reading every year around your birthday. These same thing that happens every week is happening every year in your chart. There's different things that happen every year in relation to the planets hitting your chart that you should know about so that you can work well with them and you can be more fulfilled instead of just being something blown around by the wind, basically. Also do relationship charts if you're in a new relationship and you guys want to know what brought you together, or if you're in an older relationship and want to see the things that it's headed towards and what you're going through. Children's charts if you have a youngster, want to learn how to relate better to them so they'll listen better, have a better relationship with them, and know the big events that'll be coming up in their life the first 20 years. Highly recommend that. Relocation, astrocartography, if you're looking to move somewhere else, or you're looking to move to a place where certain energies are more prevalent in your life, we can look at stuff like that. Fixed star readings for people who know their natal chart well and want to get a better sense of what their true soul purpose is in this life. And then election charts also for looking for the best timing of an event. Horary if you're looking to, find out some answer to a question you just can't seem to get an answer to. Also do classes. There's beginner classes available, lectures for your group, workshops, question and answer sessions, mini readings for your event, all of those things. Just email me, matthue823@gmail.com, matthue823@gmail.com. Thanks for all the support, you guys. The blog has been growing so well lately. Please keep it going. I really appreciate it. I love you all. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much. And I'll see you next week. We've got a new moon in Cancer at, I think it's 26 degrees. So come back next week for that. I'll see y'all then.